Hi guys, today we are following up and look at Gears of War 4. Well, color me surprised. You know what? I was very negative and very pessimistic about the sort of handoff process in this series. I.e., you had this whole thing where suddenly, for Microsoft's main flagship titles, Bungie's contract was up, Epic Games, I guess, was up. And for Bungie, they were like, we want to do our own thing. And obviously, they couldn't not make Halo. So Microsoft got 343, to make it. And I always thought that, oh man, there's no way this is going to turn out well or right or whatever. And it's funny, they had the same philosophy as Halo. They used Gears of War Judgment to do like a cross platform, or rather a cross in between game, so that they could teach 343 how to make it. Make the coalition how to make it, which was specifically made to make Gears of War games. And I'll just say it, this is a good game. This is surprisingly, it feels like Gears of War, and it's not incredibly weird or different, and not they didn't do their own thing. They played it pretty safe. But all that being said, I was just surprised and shocked that it wasn't bad. Unlike what 343 did to Halo, I'd have to say that right off the bat, Gears of War 4 is good. It's actually good, and its story is not terrible. It's a bit, doesn't go anywhere, but it's not awful or anything. So I do have to give them credit for that. I think they were originally called Black Tusk when they started, so there might be some confusion about that. So what is the story? Well, basically it's been about 10 or 20 years since the events of the last game, and you play as Marcus's son, JD, and his little, group of friends, Kat and, oh man, I forgot the other guy's name. It'll come back to me in a second. But it's this cool little refresh, thing. I just realized JD looks a lot like Jonesy from Fortnite. I wonder if that's intentional, since it's the same studio, essentially. But yeah, what is new about this game? There are robots! Oh my god! And so humanity has basically started to rebuild since, the last war, but the Locusts are just back. What's the reason? Who cares? Let's go shoot them, So yeah, it's like no matter what, the Locusts will always be back. As long as they refuse to explain the story and the origins of everything, they can just basically keep making these. And because they didn't wrap it up in Gears of War 3, and I completely left it open to Gears of War 4. So what is new? There's a whole new brand of weapons. There are, these new era COG shotguns and sniper rifles. Essentially, the way that the shotgun works is that you fire it, and when you let go, it fires another one. So, they're kind of being creative. They have like a bolt action, not a bolt action, but a semi-auto DMR, rifle kind of thing called the MKR or something. They have a couple other devices and weapons which are really interesting. But yeah, no, robots are the new enemy type, which is a interesting choice. I think, honestly, a little bit more kid-friendly. They're kind of self-aware that despite everything, a bunch of kids play this game, but yeah. And so it's honestly not a bad addition, I guess. I mean, they're not super interesting to fight, but they're not bad either. They're pretty generic. And it's a way to fight the COG without actually fighting human beings, which has always been a little bit taboo, always in these games, despite how they are presented. And so there is basically a struggle between what you would call settlers and the COG government. So now that the war has basically settled down and humans can basically reclaim the Earth, the COG government has been kind of forcing people to come back into civilization. The only issue is that part of that deal is they basically need to work in the society and control them, and basically work in the equivalent of labor camps. And obviously some people are not very happy about this and want nothing to do with it. They would rather be independent and risk the fear of, the locusts, and also now apparently the environment. It seems the changing climate of Sarah has become one of the antagonists in the story, where due to the emulsion or the things that they've been doing to the environment, there is an array of very deadly storms and electrical storms and other things like this. And that's why they started switching to robots, because they will not be affected by said storms. And also just to bolster their resources and troops. So at the end of the day, the COG government was officially a fascist government, and so obviously people don't want to join it. They want to be free, and that's why Kat is originally from, or Kate, if I'm misremembering her name, that's why she's originally from a sort of an outskirt or an outlander settlement who ended up joining the COG because she thought it was better for humanity to stand together with a unified thing rather than to risk it on the outskirts. But of course, at the beginning of this game, the locusts return, the storms return, and the lambent return, and suddenly the settlers are in a bit of a bind where they can no longer fully defend themselves, and they kind of need to go to the COG, and there's a struggle between those two forces. Also, another thing is that there is a surrogate and repopulation program that Anya from the last game was in charge of, which is a nice kind of nod to her. Marcus actually is in this game fairly early, so it's not a huge spoiler, and it's a little bit of a cameo, but he also goes into the action, and he has a very funny line essentially where, you know, his new hobby now that he's retired is growing tomatoes, and the locusts show up and kill his tomatoes, and he says, my effing tomatoes. And yeah, it's really funny. One thing else you can do in this game is you can trade weapons with your teammates, which I guess is a nice little thing to have, but not super, you know, mind game breaking. But yeah, it's so funny that, you know, this new cast of characters, they have bright, fresh, young faces. They're not awful. They're not battle hardened. They never grew up in a world where war is all they know. So they at least had a childhood. So they're a bit softer, I guess, around the edges. And there's a whole, you know, brightness and optimism to this new series, which I thought would be a little bit obnoxious, but it actually kind of works. It's funny though, because you do have Marcus who shows up, and you immediately are aware of the differences between these two characters and just how more charisma the original characters had. Not that these characters don't have charisma, but like you just can't beat the original Gears cast somehow. They're just better. And eventually, of course, all of the Gears cast appear in this game, and if not at this game, then the next game in Gears 5. So what is the big thing about this game? Well, basically, you know, they find out there's a new locust threat. They find out there's this giant nest thing, and they have to find the nest thing and basically destroy it. Partway through the game, there are these creatures that come in and abduct a bunch of people, and they find out that they're putting them in these pods and like turning them into locusts or something. And again, they kind of allude to what, you know, to what the locusts really are in this game, but you know, it's not quite there yet. They don't really go there into Gears 5 until they finally say, okay, we're just gonna, you know, decide now what the lore is and then move on from that. But yeah, you basically have these new areas where they are just called nests, and for some reason, Kate can sense them. And because of that sensing power she has, they don't know why she has it, but it's a mysterious thing. They're able to go in and basically destroy these nests and, you know, save the day. And it ends with her revealing that, when she was found as a child, the necklace that she was found around her neck was the same one as the four-pointed cross, which is the same one that the locusts use for their main symbol and that Queen Mira uses. And so suddenly it's like, oh, okay, I see this is going somewhere. But it stops there, and so it's like it gives you a little mystery about Kate and you know what her origin is, and also that okay, we destroyed the locusts, but there's more locusts to fight now, and so it's a very kind of nothing story. But you know the characters have good dialogue. You know it's fun, it's lighthearted, it's uplifting, and it's not so bad. And it plays it safe and introduces some new things that they use later. So honestly, in all things considered, I'm actually really okay with this, and the gameplay is good too. So hey, come on, there we go. One thing I do have to complain about this game: there's one section where you have to like take a catapult and like lob it at this like other thing in this storm to like bring down this drawbridge or like activate something. It was the most ridiculously frustrating part of a game I've ever had, where like I had so much good momentum, so much good pacing, and suddenly at this one part of this one puzzle, basically it wasn't supposed to be a puzzle, you have to just shoot the thing, but I kept missing, and I thought, am I supposed to hit something else? that it really just slowed down the whole thing. It was really frustrating. But besides that, the whole game is really good. Despite all that, though, the multiplayer and the horde mode is just like okay. And this is where, you see an introduction of the cancer of microtransactions and, cosmetics. And honestly, Gears 3 did have cosmetics, but it was very much like an extra thing. Like, it wasn't pushed. Come Gears 5, you have a store page on the main menu, and that's when you know you're in deep, deep doo-doo. It's not good. It's not great. Again, though, I just want to emphasize, though, that the characters in this game are a lot of fun. Listening to their banter, listening to them talk about, what they're going to do after, they get out of here. It's fun. They're all really well-written, fun characters, especially JD. Anyway, I don't have much else to say about this game. The horde mode, again, was kind of microtransaction-y. You had to could get scrap and then build like the points to get other things, but they're kind of pushing you to spend your money, which is just scummy. But aside from that, this game is overall really good, really impressive. It was not bad, and that's more than my expectations thought. So it's a recommendation, and it's a Gears of War game. So there it is. Bye.